Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This is the program where we spotlight remarkable experts from across the country and even in your town. My guest on this episode, we are revisiting a guest from Northeast Pennsylvania. We're going to visit with Adam Skuba. He was on the program several years ago when the world was an absolutely different place. So this is Adam Skuba, the founder of Skuba Entertainment. Adam, welcome to the program. Welcome back.
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So quick reminder for our listeners and folks who may not have heard your previous episode, tell us a little bit about what you do and who are the folks that you serve.
I'm a wedding DJ entertainer. I'm basically covering the Poconos, Central Pennsylvania, Northeast Pennsylvania, born and raised in this area my entire life. So what I really do is I supply one-of-a-kind entertainment for couples that are looking for a little something more than a cookie cutter wedding DJ for their wedding day. So we sit down, we try to plan everything out with them and give them an experience that's truly unique to them.
So Adam, when we first visited a few years ago, the world was a completely different place. And as we know, the wedding industry and people have, just been turned upside down. Absolutely. With their scheduling in the last year or so. So tell us, what's new today? What's happening in your neck of the woods in the wedding industry today?
Well, prior to the hit of the pandemic, we had a lot of wedding receptions that were 150, 200 people. I would say that was probably the norm. Now couples I find are scaling back a little bit, going for something that's around 100 guests, but spending more money on different things that's truly making their weddings unique to them. For example, maybe before they would have a wedding reception at a typical hotel ballroom. Now they're finding a little bit more of a unique venue and doing something more upscale food, more upscale decorations, higher end photography, flowers, entertainment. They're spending more money on different things as opposed to having more guests. And as an entertainer, that really is important because where before it was a numbers game, you can show up and it'd have 200 people, 250 people, you play some music, maybe some people dance, maybe some people don't. Now you have a smaller group of people that you're working with. And if half those people leave right away, it really, really looks bad in photos. The dance floor looks empty. So it's more important now than ever to make sure that the entertainment that the couples are booking for their wedding really is in tune, lock, step, and barrel with what they have in mind for their wedding receptions.
So it sounds like this recent pandemic has really shined a spotlight on like the value of memories and celebrations and milestone events. It sounds like people are not focusing so much. It's not a money thing. It's really just an experience thing. Is that what you're finding?
Absolutely. And it's now more important than ever, considering that how many folks lost a lot of people with the pandemic, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, family members. So these times that they're getting people together are more important now than they were ever before. And likewise, they want to ensure that the celebration that they're having is absolutely memorable for all the right reasons instead of the wrong ones.
As an insider, Adam, are there things that people planning weddings should know that are new challenges maybe that hadn't thought of or seen before as far as logistics or entertainment goes in weddings today?
Absolutely. One of the things that I think a lot of people are looking at right now are alternative venues. So not the hotel ballroom, not the traditional country club. Now they're venturing into barns, and barns were big right before this, but now more than ever, barns are alternative venues that really maybe are not set up quite for a wedding. And that's where my role as a master of ceremonies and kind of helping to craft a timeline and a day of schedule for these couples comes into play. I showed up recently to do a wedding literally in the woods. I had to bring my own power. I had to bring my own table. I had to bring everything. It was in the woods. It was behind the church of a couple. And the food people, they showed up and they were doing their things. The photographers showed up and doing their thing, but they didn't really have a coordinator per se. There was no cohesive unit there. So with my expertise and my experience, I sent them all a timeline in advance. And I said, this is how we're going to have the reception planned out. jumping off of the ceremony, and everything went great. The couple had a wonderful time. And they said, really, without you kind of taking the reins and prodding us along and keeping things moving, all of the guests probably would have eaten dinner and gotten up and left. But we made sure that we kept them involved. We kept them in tune with what was going on. And the couple ultimately had a wonderful, wonderful day.
I really want to shine a spotlight on something that you mentioned there. I mean, the value of your DJ entertainer as an entertainment director. Literally, it becomes invisible when everything goes so well. It's almost invisible what you do. But let's back up for a moment and talk about that, because people don't realize what kind of a task it is to be bringing in entertainment in the middle of the woods, for example. How are you going to get power? How are you going to get proper lighting, sound, all that? Kind of explain the role of your DJ entertainer in regards to like the entire experience, including the vendors.
Yeah, it's funny because when it's done right, it looks seamless and it looks like it was supposed to be there. When it's done wrong, it's just a dumpster fire. So going back to just this one wedding, when the mother of the bride actually contacted me to book the whole thing, and she kind of expressed that the couple was really interested in doing this different setup. And when she started getting into, well, it's going to be in the woods, and I said, oh, okay, you just start thinking about restrooms, and are you going to have any lighting out there once it gets dark, and just all of these things. But really, I wanted to make sure that guests truly had fun, because you can just show up and maybe have some background music. They could have got one of those battery powered things from Walmart or Sam's Club and threw music on, and that would have been fine if they were just looking for music. But what I brought to the table with them was more of an experience, that they actually had, the piano player with the piano in the woods. I was able to mic the piano so they can have an actual piano that sat in her grandmother's house for all these years, played at her wedding. And then transitioning from that into the cocktail hour, where they had the alternative music played that they were interested in, and then transitioning all the guests from one area of the woods to another area of the woods so they can see their first dance happen. So with all of this going on, music would have just been a very, very tiny thing. And had they called just a DJ and said, we need music in the woods, maybe that would have happened. But I sat down with them. I really went through everything as far as, this is what we need in terms of getting power out there. This is what we need in terms of working with the other vendors. And they were so appreciative of the entire thing.
That really points out something else. What you just described, it really made the family, their guests, they're really the stars of the show. They're the heroes of the whole evening. And you emphasize, memories and using a piano that was in the family. I mean, these are real milestone events for a family, where you as the entertainer, you're not really putting the spotlight on you as a show.
No, absolutely not. And I should add to this, and it was a dry wedding. It was a very conservative Christian family. They were actually, the location of the woods was behind the church. The groom's father is the pastor of the church, and it was right behind the church. So this wasn't the typical, get drunk, falling down, stupid kind of thing. They wanted something that was totally unique to them and different. And I think we accomplished it.
That's terrific. Now, linked to this point about myths and misconceptions, because people think that, hey, the DJ, that's just music, and they call it that in a lot of different articles. It's music, but it's a heck of a lot more than that, as we've been discussing about the entertainment direction and the direction of the entire evening. Are there any other myths or misconceptions out there still, or some things that may have changed during the pandemic that created some new myths or misconceptions?
Sure. I think one of the biggest things I see, and offering photo booth services in addition to our DJ entertainment, we get to see a lot of weddings that maybe we're not actually performing at as the entertainment, but just providing a photo booth. And one of the biggest things that I see personally is that maybe they hired a great DJ. They went to the nightclub, or they went to the bar, or whatever the case is, they hired a great DJ. The guy may be excellent at spinning the tunes and mixing the music, but absolutely everything comes to a screeching halt in terms of the coordination, announcements of the wedding party. For me, I think one of the most important parts of the evening is the introductions of the wedding party, introducing myself to the guests, kicking things off. And some of these people just fall flat on their face when it comes to that. I mean, they can keep a dance floor rocking, but in terms of letting people know what's going on here and there, it's just very much to be desired. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions, especially that was kind of created during COVID, a lot of guys were getting online and spinning some music, over Twitch and Zoom and everything like this, and doing these dance parties in their house. And while it was entertaining, the couples really didn't have an opportunity to see how they function on a microphone, to see how they perform in front of guests, introducing the wedding party, being a personable figure, just showing them how the coordination works. That's why I always go back to saying, talk to your couples. If you can meet face to face, whether it's a Zoom meeting, it's a FaceTime call, whatever you got to do, just don't hire them based upon, well, so and so had them at the wedding and they were cheap, so oh yeah, I think we'll go with them too. It's always important to get a vibe face to face. And I mean, I'm going to be representing that couple for the entire day. If I'm a goofball and and I do silly things, or I keep my head down the whole time and don't really interact with anybody, then what kind of an experience is that really? It'd be like watching a game show with a really lousy host, and they don't last too long. So.
Adam, you've been a remarkable expert in this a long time. Take us back a little bit and tell us, like, what inspired you to become a wedding entertainer and help folks with their celebrations. How'd you get started?
I started in this very young, when I was still in high school and coming into college and stuff like that. I was involved in professional wrestling. I was an announcer for a local professional wrestling group, and really through that I kind of hooked up with some other people and got into doing some birthday parties and stuff like that. And then a catering manager approached me and said, "Have you ever done a wedding before?" No. At the time, I think I was 15 or 16 years old. And she said, "Well, it's just like a regular birthday party, except you announce the names beforehand." Wow, was that any good? Wow, yeah. That was like, whew, baby, that totally a lot to learn. But like I said, I was 16 years old. Going through high school, getting into college. I went to college for TV and radio production. I really enjoyed that, but what I really enjoyed most was interacting with people, and the immediate reaction, seeing smiling faces and being around people that are just having a good time. And really, I can't think of any better way in my life to do what I'm supposed to do here as to go out and entertain for couples. So really, I immediately went out and learned as much as I could. Workshops, conferences, online resources, buying into programs, learn different things, learn as much as I could on how I can deliver the best experience to my couples. And I'm still learning. The day you stop learning, I think, is the day you stop living, because there's so much to still learn from other people, different couples, different ways of doing things. And I'm always looking to expand my base there and really just to be able to offer the absolute best to my couples.
I really love your story, and it might sound cliche, but you really were born to do this. Your passion and all that in entertainment, like it found you, it sounds like. So Adam, for our listeners out there, tell us, like, what are some of the biggest questions? Maybe give us the biggest question that you might get from a bride or a bride's mom when they first reach out to you. What are the big questions people are asking today?
The first question they always ask is, how much do you charge?
I'd imagine.
How much do you charge? Doesn't matter what you do. How much do you charge?
I'd imagine, because they don't really know what else to ask.
They don't know what else to ask. And so many people, you go on all the Facebook groups and everybody's frustrated. Oh, they want to know how much is, and all they care about is the price. Yes and no. Yes, price is important. Truly, some people can only afford XYZ, and that's it. On the other hand, a lot of people don't even know what they're buying. It's important to really, I think, position yourself and have your information out there so couples can get a real good feel of what it is you offer. So I myself, I have a lot going on online, Facebook page and stuff like that. A lot of couples that come to me are direct referrals from other couples that I've done their wedding. So they kind of have a feel for what it is that I kind of do, but they don't really understand. So I explain to them. I even have a book here your ultimate wedding reception, takes couples through the process of the important questions to ask when hiring a wedding entertainer, whether it's myself or whatever else, because maybe I'm not a good fit for that couple. I want them to have the best experience that they can. And if it's something that I can't offer, maybe I can refer them to someone who can. But, always the first question they ask is, how much does it cost? Then the next question is, are you available for the date? So maybe I'm cheap, but I'm not available. Maybe I'm available, but cheap. I don't know. But, how much, but then when you kind of educate them a little bit onto, well, did you think about the ceremony? What are you going to do for ceremony music? Did you think about, you're having cocktail hour in the downstairs area? How are you going to get sound down there? What are you thinking about doing for that? Maybe you're thinking about having some live musicians play for that. I network with a lot of live musicians too, and we offer that service. So trying to map out this whole thing for them, getting them around to, okay, I understand, it's this price, it's this price, it's that price. But then once they start seeing all that's involved, then we start really having a great conversation on what we can do.
So link to that. Before I ask you my last question, what's like your biggest piece of advice to folks on how to choose the DJ that's right for them? What would you tell folks?
Do your homework. Talk to them, find out how much experience they have. Let the DJ that you're talking with explain how they've made other couples days really shine and memorable. And I don't mean by just, we played a lot of music and we rocked the dance floor. Like I said, like we just got done talking about that story about the couple out in the woods, very recent. What exactly is your entertainer going to do for you that's going to make it unique to you, that's going to make it your wedding, not just somebody else's that they just showed up and played the music that day and made it work? Really, like how are you going to bring your talents, your experience to the wedding reception and make it fit for us?
Adam, for folks listening and tuning in right now, how can they get a hold of you, find out more, connect with you, and perhaps get a copy of your book? You have that available for them? How do they get a hold of you?
We can mail it right out to you. www.skubaentertainment.com, SKUBA entertainment.com. Give me a call, 570-450-6874, on Facebook as well, Skuba Entertainment. Very accessible. Just hit me up. I'll be more than happy to send a copy of the book out, answer any questions you have, even set up a Zoom. We could do this and go over details, no matter where they're at.
Adam, this has been terrific. It's great to catch up with you. I'm glad to hear that things are opening back up for you and things are going fantastic and you're super busy. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your sage advice and wisdom with my audience today. And I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Well, thanks for having me on the program, Mark. I really appreciate it.
That was Adam Skuba, founder of Skuba Entertainment, serving the Poconos, Lehigh Valley, and Northeast Pennsylvania. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.